Hello everyone, it's great to have you back here again. Take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel and leave a like, it greatly helps to make our channel even more comprehensive in supporting other people. What can we say about life? Well, I would summarize it as follows. Life is too short to be small, and we make it small when we lead a banal, futile, and superficial life. Imagine that the day I leave, and I will leave, you will leave too, what will be your legacy? They say we are not immortal, but we can be eternal, and our eternity is guaranteed by our hope, aspirations, ambitions, and desires, which are inherent to human beings, that faith that is worth investing 100% effort if there is a 1% chance, that is not giving up. It's curious because in philosophy sometimes we meditate on these themes. What is your legacy? Life has taught me about felt passion. Happiness is lived more when we live well. I could tell a story of when I was with a child picking blackberries. I remembered our condition. Even though we are immortal, I could imagine eternity in what you live, what you speak, in the refusal of the bankruptcy of hope, in the possibility of understanding what helps us live more fully. Like my old father, when we lived in a more remote place, where the roads were dirt and dusty, and he drove a jeep with a canvas top, in that heat, when he came home, I remember his image, covered in dust, sweaty, only the region around his eyes was cleaner. Instead of cursing, he said, "Look how good God is, the jeep broke down on the road today, but it wasn't raining, look how much God loves me." Another time he said, "Look how blessed I am, the jeep ran out of gas and I was only 2 kilometers from a gas station." This is not being passive, but looking at things from another perspective, because when one door closes, sometimes there are others. Many people are facing closed doors, but the secret to opening a door is in the lock, but sometimes it's just turning the knob. The idea of having the perception of not giving up, of going after, of searching, is something decisive. In life, you need to have hope, but it needs to be a hope of hoping, not just the verb to wait. Hope to wait is not hope, it's waiting. I hope it happens, I'm waiting for it to work out, I'm waiting for it to fall into my lap. Hope is not that, it's seeking, it's searching, it's making it happen with all your might. At a congress, someone asked me what I want them to say about me at my funeral, and that is very profound, something that many philosophers have faced in life. I hesitated and thought about what to answer while trying to come up with some arguments, until at a certain point, I asked the question back to her. "What do you want them to say at your funeral?" She replied simply, objectively, and with some humor, "I want someone to say, 'Look, she's moving.'" A spectacular answer. We laughed. After all, what does a living being want? To remain alive. If this vitality honors us, if this vitality is still worthy, if this vitality does not hurt us, in this sense, of course, the meaning of life puts us in what it can offer us in fullness, something decisive. Benjamin Disraeli used to say, "Life is too short to be small, life is too short to be small." Let's reflect here, it is already short enough for us to be able to diminish it in some way. And life is indeed short, on average 75 years, average. Some go before, others go later. 75 doesn't seem like much. When we are still young, of course, it seems like we will never reach 60, but for those who are over 60, you begin to notice that there are personal items that can last longer than you, even your credit card may have more validity than you. When this happens, you have to think. But there are also those who are over 80 years old. On one occasion, I had the pleasure of hearing the following sentence from a lady, "My son, I was at church last weekend, do you know what an old man told me?" I responded to the lady, "Ma'am, define old man." Now, the lady was over 80, and she replied to me, "Oh, he must be around 90. Life is too short to be small, don't make it useless, lukewarm, or disposable." After all, how can we make it clearer? The only thing you take from life is the life you lead. Reflect on that. The only thing you take from life is the life you lead. With your condition, with your hope, with your difficulty, but without cowering, without giving up, without surrendering, remembering that a mother usually does not sleep until her child arrives. The only thing you take from life is the life you lead. Mario Quintana, a Brazilian poet, died at almost 80 years old, single. He had a very peculiar phrase for not getting married. Every time he was asked why he had never married, he would reply, "I always preferred to leave dozens of hopeful women than just one disappointed." There's a certain logic to it. He died on the same day as Ayrton Senna. So although it was important, you are not so remembered. Sometimes you don't even know that he died, others don't even know he lived. He was invited to the Brazilian Academy of Letters 3 times, but was rejected every time, a place where there were many fools, and many others who were not, but Mario was rejected for the 3rd time. What did he do? He wrote a poem. Contrarian poem, he said in 4 lines, "All of those who are there, blocking my way, they will pass, I will pass." It sounds like a truck bumper sticker. On the way up, you squeeze me, on the way down we'll talk. Mario, who was a genius, had an unforgettable rhyme, which I share with you. One day, I'll be done, whatever has to be, to die, what does it matter to me? The important thing is not to stop living. One day, we'll all depart, there's no greater truth, but there are those who experience a daily death, the death of hope, of affection. You stop living when your capacity for solidarity, lovingness, and fraternity comes to an end. One day, I'll be done, whatever has to be, to die, what does it matter to me? The important thing is not to stop living. That's why when Israeli says, life is too short to be small. It's logical, we're mortal, but we can be eternal. Like Epicurus, who said an impactful phrase, "I don't fear death because it and I will never meet, as long as I exist, my death does not exist, once it exists, I do not exist, so why fear it? I'm not afraid of death, I just don't want to be there when it happens." Suassuna, a Portuguese intellectual, called death the most profane thing, but not the act that actually led to it, but rather the hope of living, of projects, of what he left for after his existence. Many of these people are writers, philosophers, inventors, but each one of us has our own work in everyday life, of what we do that's interesting, of the love we share with those around us or that we receive from you, a bit of what you have in potential, performance, a smile, a kindness, a word. One of the meanings of life is to take care of life, both your own and others. One day, visiting the Mario Quintana Cultural Center, when he died, a former soccer player Falcao bought part of the building to preserve the memory. I gained access to one of his notebooks, which he had saved. He had written down what he wanted as his epitaph, "The strongest truth I know on this subject," and it's on his tomb. I'm not here. I'm not here. Where is Mario Quintana? In us, in the fraternity he distributed, in the love he practiced, in the happiness he dreamed of, in the wisdom he sought. The phrase, "I'm not here," is a synonym for the fact that we're mere materiality that ends with the decay of biology, but there's something in us that persists. Some believe it's spiritual, and even following this logic, we can't forget what we lived, how we lived. Were we useless, frivolous, or superficial? Even if we have difficulties, turbulence, and many of us have had and will have, but what makes a difference is not shrinking in the face of these difficulties, it's making oneself eternal in the battle. So, we're mortal, but we can be eternal. You gain this earthly condition of being eternal when you become an important person. But don't confuse important with famous. Many people in your life are important but not famous, and there are many famous people who don't matter at all. An important person in your life is someone who is missed. Meditate on this phrase: if you didn't exist, what would be missing? If you didn't exist, what would be missing? Imagine that on the day I'm gone, and I'll be gone, what was your work? As it is also in the Bible, many have lived a life and their works, even after death, still speak. It is possible to hear from Lazarus, son of Adam, Job, Moses, because they did not make their lives a vain, selfish act. They did not only seek their own interests, but lived a life of surrender, recognizing what was truly worth applying while alive. The works of faith, which even after death still speak. One day, I will be ready to go, whatever has to be, to die, what does it matter to me? The important thing is not to stop living. Remember, life is too short to be small. Do not make it useless, lukewarm, or disposable. Subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and watch our available videos. See you in the next one.